Okay, so the topic today is generally is just talking about questions I get all the time. You know, deposits, landlord renters. What is your policy on different types of fees? What do you charge for reconnects, disconnects, all that kind of stuff. And so we're just kind of, I don't have a formal presentation. This is just kind of an open chat type of situation, okay? Does anybody want to start off the discussion by asking a question? What's the biggest concern everybody has that they want to talk about? You want to talk about landlord renters? Is that an issue everybody's struggling with? Okay, so let's start this. I have some questions to I have some questions that you can answer that maybe will get the discussion going. Okay, let me see. So a question is going to pop up, and I think I have 3 questions here, and you just click on the answer, and then I can share the answer with you, and you can see. So first question, do you charge a higher deposit for renters than you do homeowners? Can everybody see their poll question? We've got some of you going, okay? So, and then the second question is, do you hold landlords responsible for their renters' unpaid water sewer bill, yes or no? And then do you require landlords to have a user's agreement and deposit on every rental property they own with you? Okay, so those are some 3 basic questions, and we will see. I think everybody's kind of found it, looks like. We've got 25 out of 35 of you that have answered the question. So I'll give you, oh my goodness, we got lots of people here. Okay. There's a few more. We'll give you another minute or so to answer the poll questions. We'll see how it goes. Now, I don't know, these are anonymous polls, so you do not see who answered which way. So if you're concerned about that, don't be. It's just going to aggregate the totals for us, okay? And we'll see how it goes. I'll give you about 15 more seconds. To answer the questions, and then we'll share so dealing with renters is always a big issue, it seems, with everybody. So maybe we can find out how others are tackling this problem. All right. Has everybody answered that's going to answer? Okay. So I'm going to end the survey. I'm going to end it, and I'm going to share the results, okay? Can everybody see the results? Okay. So the question, do you charge a higher deposit for renters than homeowners? About half of you do, a little over half of you do. You charge more for a renter. That is becoming more and more common practice. You can do that. It is not discriminatory. Some systems have been told that's discriminatory. It is not. Do you hold the landlords responsible for the renter's unpaid water sewer bill? About half of you do. Half of you don't. So there is a state law. It's RSMO 250.140 that says you can hold a landlord responsible for their tenant's unpaid water and sewer bill for up to 90 days of service. So about half of you do that. That's good. And then do you require landlords to have a user's agreement deposit on and deposit on every rental property they own? Again, exactly half of you do and half of you don't. So so about half and half. So okay, Jody Schneider, which is not
Actually,
Jody
Connie.
Schneider.
It's actually Connie.
Connie, okay. You have a question.
I do. What was that? It was RSMO 250.
RSMO 250.140. And that's the state law that says you can hold a landlord responsible for up to 90 days of service. You need to look that up. There's some notification requirements in that, as far as notifying the landlord, but you can do that, okay? So if renters are a problem, that's some backbone that you have, okay? To enforce that. All right. About half of you said you require a landlord to have a user's agreement and a deposit on file. I know one water district that will not put the account in the renter's name at all. They only deal with the landlord. The landlord gets the bill. It's up to the landlord how he wants the renter to pay the bill, if at all, or if he includes it in the rent. So they won't even deal with the renter at all. The landlord is the account holder. So that's how they deal with it. So it's always a big issue, right? So, okay. Other questions on land? What kind of problems are you having? Let's just talk about landlords and renters for a while, a little bit. How does everyone, there's a question here. How does everyone file the documents? Separate renter file? Diana? I'm not sure what documents you're talking about. Do you want to unmute and clarify that a little bit, Diana?
Well, when we put the customers' files in our cabinet, each time we have a new renter, it goes in that file drawer. But we have an area that some of our properties change quite frequently. So it almost feels like we're constantly changing these documents into folders. So we were wondering whether or not we needed to have, like you said, a lot of districts are actually making it the owner's file and they don't keep anything separate on the renters. So just trying to get some ideas of whether or not we need to change something with how we're doing this.
Anybody got any suggestions? Do you mean the property ownership changes a lot, or just the renter changes a lot?
The renter changes a lot.
A lot, yeah. I don't know, I would think you'd want to keep the file in the property owner's file and then, keep it current with the current renter. And that way you won't change because it's the property, and you can hold the landlord responsible, if you do. So anybody got any suggestions on that? I would keep a file on the property, not each individual renter, and then every renter goes into that property file. I would think would be easier to track. That way I'm seeing some heads nodding and stuff, okay? Jessica, can someone give me the statute number she just gave us? It's 250.140. There are a couple of you responded to that, okay? Tina, 92% of your uncollectibles are rental properties. Tina, where are you from? Can you tell us? Is Tina there? Oh, Kathy's got to join. No, okay. Yeah, if you've got, real problems with renters, your board needs to look at adopting um, the provisions under 250.140 and make those landlords responsible, because that's an expense to the system. It's no different than paying your electric bill. You've got a bad debt expense, and if you don't collect from those guys, um, then you've got to raise rates to make up for that revenue that's lost, and that's not fair to the ones that have to pay. So, okay, hang on just a minute, Connie. Let me get to these. Um, Heather, we have a parcel address specific folder. Yeah, we talked about that. Okay. Um, Tina, I was wondering if that's what we should do. I agree. Make the file big for the property. Okay, we've got that. Tina, you're from the city of Crane. Thanks for letting me know. Chamoy, I had a landlord come in and tell me his renter moved and he needed to have the service in his name. The tenant didn't leave a forwarding address. What do you do with the deposit when the tenant leaves town? Okay, we're going to talk about, we'll talk about that in a second, Chamoy. Our landlords get copies to keep track of their renters. Okay, all right. So Connie, you had a question?
I was just going to say, by doing this way, and I don't think our board wants to change it. During giving people a break for the COVID, we had quite a few people just leave us. And so the renters come in and would get it back in their name and turn it back on, and we were just out.
So say that again. What did you do?
So, you know how we were giving people a break and maybe not making them pay, still sending out the bills, but not shutting them off. Well, then the people moved out because it was like a 3 to 4 month period.
Oh, so they just left you with the
renters would rent it out again, and of course would have to turn it back on for them, the new renters, and so we can't collect back on that money except for the deposit that we took.
Yeah, so, and that's why you hold the landlord responsible.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah. You really need to think about that because, and if you haven't done that in the past and you do that, the landlords are going to scream like crazy. But the way I look at it is, they rent it to make a profit. They make money on the rent. And why should you, as the publicly owned water system, subsidize their profit? How fair is that? So it's part of the cost of them doing business, and they need to either raise the rent if they have, or it's their cost. It shouldn't be your cost, and they shouldn't be putting that off on you. So I'm a real advocate for making the landlord responsible. Okay, and you will get a lot of pushback if you haven't done that in the past. But you just can't afford to do that. Okay. Yeah. Tammy Winter, I'll get back with you on that. Okay.
We had a situation where we do require the landowner and the tenant to do a deposit and a water users agreement. And just before COVID really hit, a landowner came in with a tenant. Our deposit for our tenant is greater than the landowner's deposit. And in this particular situation, it was also in an area where we collect the sewer deposit. So the deposit was significant. The tenant just became irate and refused to pay the deposit and walked out the door. The landowner had us turn on the water. They said to make sure pipes hadn't broke or frozen. It was a mobile home. Only then 2 or 3 weeks later to call us and tell us that if the tenant doesn't sign the water users agreement by such and such a day, we are to turn that water off. The landowner certainly knew we had required a deposit really for their protection, ultimately, but allowed them to move in anyway. COVID had just hit. we had kind of a mess of people very angry. I reached out to our lawyer, and in that situation, she advised us to not shut the water off because that would be adverse. I think it's called adverse eviction.
Yes.
And from about the middle of March to the present, we currently are not shutting off water or charging late fees because of COVID. So we have a situation of a tenant who's paid just a very small amount for what's now a pretty large bill, a landowner who's just as belligerent and difficult and paid nothing, and just kind of caught in the middle, of really during this period how to walk this through.
Do they owe a water bill now, Sharon?
Yes, and a sewer bill for the little village that we do the billing for.
So you can shut them off for non-payment.
Well, one of the things our lawyer did, having known what the landowner had told us, that in this circumstance, it would be, and that was early on, so maybe that is the difference. There wasn't much of a bill at that point when the landowner first told us to shut them off. But and at this point, we are not shutting anybody off because of COVID. That will change in a month or so.
Okay.
It is the board's plan, but it's kind of a Pandora's box.
I agree. You can get yourself into a pickle pretty quick. You can shut off now, if you can shut off a customer for non-payment following your shut-off policies, right? You got to follow your shut-off policies. So you have a policy right now to not shut off, but that's going to change. So I'm assuming you're going to notify your customers. And if it's not paid, you can shut them off. What you can't do is, let's say the water bill is current, but the landlord hasn't been paid his rent. So the landlord calls and says, I want you to shut the water off at this rental unit I have. You can't do that. That is not legal. That's what she said, like constructive eviction or something like that. And that is illegal. So you got to be careful with that. But I'm going to guess, Sharon, once you guys go back to normal operations of shutting off for non-payment, then you can shut them off and stop that. But and you can make the landlord pay the bill.
Up to 90 days.
Up to 90 days of service. So if it's been over 90 days, you can only do the 90 days and figure out what that is. And so that's one thing, is you want to make sure that you have disconnected service before that 90 days of service. And it's not 90 days of bills, it's 90 days of service,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So you got to count up how much water did they use in 90 days. And that's all you can hold the landlord responsible. Past that, then you're just out of luck. And that's why it's important. It's important to understand what your billing cycle is, how many days and how many bills that includes, okay? And then you shut them off if they don't pay. Okay. So, Winona, what do you do if the account is in a deceased individual's name? The family members keep paying the bills. Whoever's paying the bills, I would contact them and tell them they need to really come in and sign a new users agreement. Somebody needs to have that in place. The other thing is, if you've got a deposit and it's somebody who had passed and they were the users agreement, they were the signers on the users agreement, that deposit becomes part of their estate. You can't send that to just, their son came in and said, I'll just make the check out to me. I'll take the deposit refund. You can't do that, right? So somebody, I would, as long as they keep paying the bill, that's fine. But understand the deposit doesn't go back to them. If that service is disconnected, it goes back to the estate. But there's really not much you can do. Now, if somebody moves into the house, then I would insist on whoever moved in has to sign a new user's agreement because you need to hold them responsible. Okay. Crystal said we just started late fees. Hang on. Late fees and disconnects again since March. We sent letters to those with high bills, giving them an option to come in and make arrangement and keep those arrangements. We would not shut off the water. Very few responded today. We started to shut them off. Good. I think you should. You know, and I think to mention that somebody understand there was no mandatory stopping of shutoffs during COVID. That was up to the individual board. Missouri never did issue a mandatory order that you had to cease doing shutoffs and disconnects. And some states did. Missouri never did. So it was up to you guys, up to your board, whether they wanted to put a halt to those for a while. So, you know, the board decided and the board can decide when. A lot of them have already gone back, okay, to requiring them. Kendra, we've had several telling us that it's state law that we cannot shut off water services because of the pandemic. That's not true. I just address that. You can't, that's not true. There was never a mandate. It was up to the individual board to do it or not. And then the board can reinstate those. And like I said, most of them started doing the shutoffs again the end of June, end of July. So I think the majority of people. Would a deposit have a pay on death option, Denise? Probably if you had that as part of your user's agreement, okay? That might be something you add to your user's agreement, kind of like your checking account, right? You can go in and sign on your signature card, payable on death, POD, and name. So as long as you have that and your original signer put it on there, I don't know why you couldn't do that, because your user's agreement is your contract, okay? So that would be a good idea. Kendra says we went back to normal beginning of May. So yeah, you can do that. Go back. I want to go back and answer the clerk from Chamois. And she asked about what do you do if they're if you've got a deposit and they either left no forwarding address or maybe they've passed away and you have no idea how to get to them. I think it's, and some of you correct me, you probably know this better than I do. The deposit money is not your money. It is not the district's or the city's money. You're holding that in trust. And if you have if you have a customer who's either deceased or moved away and didn't leave a forwarding address, that becomes unclaimed property. And you have to send that to the state treasurer. And I think it's after 2 years. Is that correct? Somebody correct me. After 2 years, if you have failed to send that, get it to the proper person, then you are to send it into the state treasurer and unclaimed property. You have to keep some information with that, okay? You got to know who it is, the last known address. There's a form you fill out. Just go to the Missouri State Treasurer's Office website, and you can find that. But you're supposed to send those to unclaimed property after 2 years and not keep them there in your accounts, okay? Okay, a couple of you want to know if you can share a template of the letter you sent to customers when you started doing disconnects again. If you've got a sample, a letter that you've sent to your customers on that saying you're going to start disconnects again, probably the easiest thing would be to, if you could, email that to me and we will share it in our downloads section. So if you've got one, please send it. Okay. And we'll do that. Connie, you got a question?
I do. Isn't it considered fraud though, if they keep it under the deceased name? Or is it not?
If they what now? Say that again.
If they keep it under the deceased name, is it considered
I don't know that it's fraud. I mean, somebody's paying the bill, that's fine. I would work on getting it cleared up, though. I don't know that it's fraud. You're not intentionally defrauding anybody. The
Well, 'cause
problem
I
is
had-
if it's an empty house, what happens when somebody moves in?
Yeah.
Then
'Cause I had a gentleman that came in and I actually found out that his mom had died 7 years ago. And I said, sir, you really need to switch this over to your name.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, we didn't do anything about it. And he actually ended up putting a deposit down because I told him it was a new account.
Yeah.
considered-
Well, and that's what I would do, you know. Yeah. You need to keep them. Tina brings up a good point. Reading under the Division 40 PSC rules that one of the things that says that we have to return deposits with interest in 5 years. That's not true. Well, here's the thing. If you're a public water supply district or a municipality, Public Service Commission rules do not apply to you. Okay? And I get a lot of calls. Customers will get upset when they get disconnected and they'll go and they'll start looking through the regulations and they find the PSC regulations. If you're a PSC regulated utility, there are certain notification requirements you have to do and all kinds of hoops you have to jump through before you can turn people off. But they do not apply to you if you're a municipality or a water supply district. Whatever your ordinances require and whatever your policies require if you're a rural water district, that is what you follow. And that's true with deposits too. It does not apply to you. So it's whatever your ordinance requires is what you follow. You do not follow the PSC regulations. Those are for private for-profit utility companies. So don't let customers, bring that argument to you because it's not valid. You are not a PSC regulated utility. Okay, if you're a municipality or a public water supply district. And Leighton thought it was every 5 years that you send it. I thought it was 2 years, but again, go to the state treasurer's office and look up unclaimed property and it will tell you there, how long that is to do it. Okay. Michelle says the deposit gets applied to the customer's final bill. I think that's the case with most of you. But if that person passes away and the deposit more than covers the last bill, or they move away and you still got money left over in the deposit, that's when you have to do something with that after such a period of time. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, got another message. Okay, Tammy checked with the treasurer's website and she's on the ball here. She checked and said, state agencies, political subdivisions, and government entities are 3 years to remit. So, but keep pertinent information because you got to have certain information to submit with that or you can't do that. Crystal, unfortunately, people lie. So when new customers come in to put water in their name, we require a rental agreement or paperwork from the title company. We then add landlords to the bill. A lot of systems do that. If you saw Crystal's comment there, before a renter can come in, they have to bring a copy of the rental agreement that says we are renting this. Some call the actual landlord if you're a small enough system. Some systems, even if you bought a house, they want a copy of the deed of trust or the warranty deed that says you own the property because they've had problems with squatters. I've talked to several systems where somebody moves into an empty house and comes in and gets service and then moves out 3 months later and you call the landlord and they didn't know anybody was even moved in, especially if they're an absentee landlord. So there are several systems that do that. Kathy says she verifies ownership with recorder of deeds. That's good for ownership. Rental agreement would be another issue though. So yeah, it's not unusual for people to require a copy of the rental agreement, an executed rental agreement, or they verify with the landlord that yes, they're a renter are there. So landlords are a huge, renters are a huge issue, but you really need to hold the landlord responsible. and make sure you get service disconnected before they get over 90 days under their belt. And you can get that done. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any questions on landlords, renters? What else do you want to talk about? You want to talk about, let me do another poll. Shoot, let me find it. Hang on. Stop share results. Let's talk about how much you deposits, a little more details on deposits. So first question on deposits is, under what conditions do you refund or apply a customer's deposit? Okay. You can pick more than one of these on question 1. Okay. How much do you charge for a deposit is kind of the next one. And you can only choose one there. So I'll give you time to do that. It says, Liz, can you talk my board into holding the landlord responsible? I wish, Patricia. I could come and talk to him about it, but I don't know that I can talk him into it. And you're a college town up there in Canton, right? So it's probably a huge issue, isn't it? Yeah. Question is, owners or any deposit. I'm just asking deposit. Either one. Okay. Says, can I use a deposit to pay a bill from a tenant who has moved out of state? You can use the deposit to pay the bill he left, the person left. If the bill is tied to that deposit, then yes. Where they moved to is irrelevant. Okay. But if they made the deposit and it's to their bill, you can apply it. Yeah. We have a different deposit amount based on residential and size of meters. Okay, that's good to know. Can you come here to convince our board? Sure. I don't know that I can convince them, but I can talk to them about it. There are different one up. Let's select one. Oh, okay. On number 2, yeah. Probably I'm kind of looking at residential there for that. So yeah, Leeton, apply the deposit to their last bill and then refund the rest. I think that's probably what most of them do. I don't know that I could do wonders. Thanks, Sherry. I appreciate that. I don't know about that. But some, I know some towns, and I've run across this several times, that if you've paid your bill on time for 12 months, they'll refund your deposit to you if you're a homeowner. So I don't run into that a lot, but I have run into that. So it's kind of interesting. All right, everybody. So New Hampton tenants are $185 and owners are $100. A lot of them do. I'm going to end this and everybody can see how the results came out. So, so most of you refund the deposit when the service is terminated. Nobody does it just because you were a good person and paid your bill on time for a year. When the bill is overdue but the service is not terminated, you're going to apply the deposit. So somebody did that and somebody did other. Let's see, Kathy at Castle Evans, you refund after 3 years. Okay, with accounts in good standing. Okay. So Kathy, a question for you. Do you ever make them post a new deposit if they went by the wayside and started getting not payments?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
They'll get one mix up, one little mix up where something I didn't get their bill paid. And I tell them at that time, that's fine. If you pay it today, we'll get you taken care of. But if it happens again, you'll have to post another deposit.
Okay. Okay. So, And then if the bill is overdue but not terminated, somebody did that. So if you apply a bill, a deposit to an unpaid bill, but they haven't terminated the service, do you make them come in and do you charge them another deposit? So whoever answered that would be good. Most of you charge anywhere from $0 to $200. The majority of you do. Wow, there's one that's over $300. Sharon would like to know about the different meter sizes. Does your district charge different deposits for meter size? If a larger meter, do you charge a monthly charge? So Sharon, are you talking about a monthly minimum charge?
For example, first of all, I guess it's a two-part question. Does a deposit, a larger size meter require a larger deposit? And or on a monthly basis, if someone has a larger meter, is there like a flat additional fee of something so much because they have that privilege of a 1 inch or whatever the meter size was?
Okay,
That
so
is ongoing.
so it's like their minimum is higher.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Tina, we do have different deposits for the size of the bill. Small business and residents are $200. Larger business $300. We have one that has a deposit of $1,000. So 4 inch. So yeah, I don't think it's unusual for the bigger the meter, the bigger the deposit. That's not unusual to have. And then there is a way. And I recommend this when I do rate studies sometimes, that the minimum be multiplied by a factor based on the meter size. So like your 5/8 or 3/4 inch residential meter would be a factor of 1, but then based on the volume that the meter can handle, your minimum is multiplied by a factor to determine a higher minimum for a larger meter user. And that's a pretty common practice, and it's very defensible that you can do that. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I can talk to you more about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? So instead of 1% for everybody, it then becomes like 1.2% for someone who has a 1 inch meter.
Because the theory is that one, it's based on the capacity of the service. So like a 2 inch meter can serve, the potential demand on the system is a lot higher, right? And plus the cost of the meter. So, maintaining, you've got several factors there that you can defend that position with. Okay.
Okay. Kind of along those lines, does anyone have like a commercial account? We're getting a new area in our district that they hope to really build up and have out at the junction. We call it the junction, and they're hoping for a lot of commercial activity happening out there. Does anyone charge a different commercial price, or what's your thoughts on that?
You want me to throw a poll question up and do that?
Sure, that'd be great.
Let me see if I can do this.
Sorry, I should have gave that to you early.
Not what I want to do. So I'm going to edit. No, that's not what I want to do. Hang on. I haven't done this in a while. Polls. Edit. Hang on. Of course not. Anybody else wants to just chime in, they're welcome to. Let me add. So this is a commercial. Do you want to know basically, do you charge a different rate for commercial, Denise?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm just going to do a yes or no, okay?
All right.
And no. Save it. Okay, now let's see if it will let me do this. Okay, so I launched that question. Do you charge a different rate for commercial customers? Yes or no?
So if you don't have a commercial, you would just say no then, right?
Right. So, and I think we have a lot of water districts on here, and I'm going to probably guess that a lot of water districts don't. So let's see, copying, pasting, or maybe we have different deposit amounts and base rates based on residential accounts. It's on our website, PWSD 9, okay? So that's good, you can see there. Tammy says the only thing different on commercials that we charge sales tax. Yes, if you have a commercial or business account, you got to charge them state sales tax.
Right.
Okay. Parma, Laura down there, Parma charges for new meters only if the customer broke the meter and we charge them $500. New meters are $500 and $250 for tap and latent. Okay. Okay. So that's what you're charging for a connection. Okay. All right. So I've got 40 or 46. So let's end the polling and share the results. So it looks like 68, almost 70% of you do not charge separate rates for commercials. You charge the same, I'm assuming 32%. But I'm going to guess, Denise, that you know, given the audience today, that's what I would expect, because I'm going to guess most of you are rural water districts. But I think especially if you can show that it's a higher cost to serve those, you know, you can definitely charge a higher commercial rate. A lot of places do, especially cities, charge it. Is that along 70 and 65 there? Is that where that is?
It is.
The water tower that's not painted?
That is us.
Is that part of you guys?
Yes, that is us. It was supposed to have gotten painted, but delays.
Okay. They charge a different base rate. Here's Connie, right? You charge a different base rate for commercial, but the volume rate is the same. I see that too. Okay, change the subject a little bit. Question is how, where is it? What's the usual amount of time before shut off for non-payment or grace period? And somebody said 2 months. We only charge a 2% sales tax for water usage. We charge 7.725% for electric. Huh. That's one no. Well, okay. Let me address the sales tax thing first, and then we'll get back to the grace period. Sales tax. You cannot charge state sales tax on residential customers. Okay. You can charge a local city sales tax or a county sales tax if they were assessed and utilities were included in that vote that authorized the sales tax. State sales tax is only charged to commercial businesses. There's a special tax for, there's another rate for manufacturers if you have a factory. And if you're not sure, you need to talk to the Department of Revenue. But no residential customers should be charged state sales tax. They are exempt, okay? Hotels and motels are exempt from that state sales tax though, because they figure out how much they owe and do their own sales tax return. So you should not be charging hotels or motels state sales tax either, okay?
That include bed and breakfasts then also?
Boy, I don't know, Denise, man. The letter I saw from the Department of Revenue specifically said hotels and motels. So that would probably be a Department of Revenue question. I don't know the answer to that one. Okay. So everybody's got several responses here. If you're looking at the chat on the late, when do you disconnect? Bills are due on the Parma bills are due on the 15th, and if not paid by the 25th, then they're shut off on the 26th. Okay. So Jennifer, we're due on the 15th. We send out a late notice around the 20th and then shut off at the beginning of the next month. So you're even after the late fee, you're giving them quite a bit of grace there. Bills are due on the 15th, not paid by the end of the month. They're shut off on the 1st. Must pay the account in full. Plus $150 reconnect fee to restore service. Okay. Bills are due 1st to the 10th without penalty. Reminders mailed out on the 15th and must pay the 25th or shut off on the 26th. So you shut them off the same month. Service is subject to disconnect on the 20th if not paid by the 10th. Okay. Tina's a new clerk and she's enforcing that, and she's not a very popular person with her customers. How does, we've all been there, right? Bills are due on the 10th, any day after the last day of the month, they are subject to disconnect. First, do the shutoffs on the first Tuesday of each month. Okay. Okay, Latricia, yeah, your sales tax form talks about which, yeah, you just have to know how much you collected from each one, each type of entity to do the percentages right. Yeah, so thank you for that clarification. Tina, we hang door tags at least the week before. So it looks like bills are due on the 20th, 10% penalty after that. Shut off notice sent at the end of the month, and you shut off by the second Wednesday. Ooh, Winona, City of Winona, bills are due on the 10th, and disconnect is on the 15th. Man, they're tough, aren't they? They don't mess around. Okay. Okay, so Tammy Winter, you says you have a customer sign a sales tax card that says what the water is going to be used for, business, domestic, or other. Is this required? It's not required, but it's probably a good thing, especially for those that have businesses in their homes. You know, but because if it's for business, you're supposed to be charging state sales tax. That might be kind of hard to do, but it's not required that I know of. So Leeton, reading dates are the 20th to the 20th. Okay, so readings are done. Bills go out the 25th. They're due on the 10th of the following month, and you shut off on the 30th. So they've got another month of usage before you shut them off, and that's pretty typical, I think. Reconnect fee. How much is the average reconnect fee? Somebody wants to know. I'm going to put in your message there. I'm assuming everybody can see the chat. Bills are due the 15th, shuts off, start on the 16th. Wow. Tina, you don't charge a reconnect or shut off fee? That's kind of interesting. I've never seen anybody that doesn't charge a fee. Question would be, why don't you? Bills are due. Denise, your bills are due on the 15th. Late fees of $5 plus 5% added can be shut off at the end of the month. This is our first month, the extra $5. Parma charges $150 reconnect fee. Wheaton charges a $40 reconnect fee. I found these are all over the board, you know, what the reconnect fee is. Reconnect fee is $50, $70. Number 6, owner, renter, $35 reconnect, $100. The renter's $35 reconnection, $100 reconnection for foreclosed properties. Okay. $25 in Laredo, $110 in Galt. That's pretty close. Looks like the majority of you are around $75, $50, $75 for a reconnect fee. Yeah, most of you charge a reconnect fee. You don't charge a disconnect fee. You just charge, if they want it back on, they got to pay. Okay. $10, but then must include a deposit that is average of 3 times the bills. Okay. So, oh, Cape Girardeau County, you got a progressive one. $60 the first time, $120 the second time. if they get disconnected within the first year, within a year. Seeing more of that, you know, where it'll be like $50, then $75, then $100, and it stays at $100 until you've been at that level for a year. And if you go 12 months without getting disconnected, you can go back down to the original one. I've seen that. Gina wanted to know, do most of you only reconnect during business hours? I would say if they wanted after hours, that reconnect fee goes way, way up. Okay. A lot of systems too, not a lot, but a number of them won't disconnect on a Friday. They'll wait till the following Monday and disconnect. They just have a policy that they won't disconnect on a Friday because they don't want to be called out after hours. But I've seen a lot of them that if they do insist on doing it after hours, then you pay like double or triple what your normal disconnect is. Permanently turns it on during business hours. No later than 2 p.m. The request has to come in. And that we talked about that. There's a lot of systems that won't do cut shutoffs on a Friday. Again, it's up to your board to put that in your policy. Sherry, we'll reconnect after hours, but there's a $25 fee. The thing you got to look at is what does it cost you in overtime to send your guys out there to do the reconnect? And you want to make sure you cover all of that cost. Okay. You need to do a little bit of cost analysis there. And that fee needs to include all of that, including the wear and tear on the truck and the mileage and all that kind of stuff. Candy, you only do it during business hours. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they didn't know they were late, right? They get the bill every month. And I found people will take advantage of you as long as you let them. Latricia, we actually call ours an administrative fees. We charge it if they do not pay the bill. So as many would say, my water is not actually shut off. Yeah, there's some truth to that. There's a lot of places, I say a lot. I've come across where if you're on the disconnect list, and especially if in the morning, the guys have been handed, the workers have been handed the list and they're out, that fee goes on. The fact that you came in and paid before they actually shut the water off is irrelevant. You will still, because the staff still did all the work to put you on the list, did the checking. The operators went out to actually spend the time to shut your meter off. There was cost incurred there. So if you're on that disconnect list, when it goes out the door on disconnect day, you're going to get charged, whether they actually got you shut off or not. That is becoming more and more, you're going to see that more and more. Okay. So Boone 9, $35 shut off and $35 to reconnect. So most of you is only during business hours. Higher reconnect fee after hours. So I'm going to say it looks like most of you will only do it during business hours. That's what I'm seeing. Don't disconnect on Fridays. Most of you don't. If you do it after hours, you charge a higher fee. So how long do you leave someone off after paying? That was a Candy question. Candy, yeah. How long do you leave someone off after paying? Well, you can tell them we'll get the guys out there as soon as we can, but there's nothing that says that you have to drop everything and go turn them back on. Okay. There's nothing in statute. There's nothing in regulation that says, maybe it waits till the next business day, unless they want to pay an extra fee to go out after hours and have your guy turn him back on. Okay. So some of you, if you want to chime in on that question, how long is it between somebody paying their bill and getting turned back on? Chamoy only disconnects on Mondays or Tuesdays. Leighton says, who takes the money if they do it after hours? Well, I would say they'd That's a good question. You don't want your guys out there collecting money, especially cash. So if there's nobody to take the money after hours, then I wouldn't do a reconnect after hours. They'll have to wait till the next business day when somebody in the office can take the money, you know? It is not smart to have your guys out there collecting money in the field. So, Tina said they can pay on our website. That's a good point. If you've got online pay, or you can take credit card payments some way, they can get on your website and pay, and you can verify that they paid, then that's another way to do it, okay? And if you don't have a way for customers to pay by credit or debit card, you need to do that. There are a lot of third-party payment processors out there that don't cost you a thing. And if you don't have that capability, even if you don't have a website, you don't have to have a website of your own. You don't have to have it through your billing. There's third-party payers out there, companies that can process credit and debit, and some can even do ACH through their website. And so if you don't have that capability, give me a call. We can talk about it. I can set you up. Monday through Friday in Parma, they have until 2 p.m. to get it turned into the same day. If they pay after 2 p.m., they have to wait until the next business day. So we try to make a point to tell them it could take up to 24 hours to have their service restored. So yeah, that's a good policy, Latricia. I like that. And especially some of you water districts where, you know, you cover a huge area and it may take a little time to get to them. So, you know, Kathy, we'll turn it back on once all the shutoffs are done. So it could take several hours for them to get service restored. Yeah. So that's something you may want to talk about. What's your standard procedure in dealing with that, Candy? You may want to have a discussion with your board and staff on what's your response on that. But if a customer comes in and says, you have to turn me on now because I paid you the money, that's not true. Okay. Don't let them do that to you. City of Chamois, it says it's in our ordinance that it can take up to 48 hours for them to get service restored. But it's usually done within the hour. So Kendra there at Bunker, our shut off day was yesterday. I had someone call me and tell me that I couldn't shut their water off because they have children in the house. That is not true. You can shut off water for non-payment, period. I don't care who they are or what their condition, what their circumstances are. You can shut them off for non-payment, period. Okay. So that's not true. You know, we'll send them out the same day, but we have to have payment. Yeah. So we send the next available guy. We try to get him back on quickly. You do want to try to get him back on quickly, but some of you have limited staff. So you do it as quickly as you can, but I would let them understand it could be a while. Does anyone accept cash? You can accept cash, but I wouldn't let your guys accept cash, and I would only do it where you have the ability to print them a receipt out and to give them a receipt. But I think most places do accept cash. Our provider charges the customer a fee. We don't pay it. Okay, yeah. Parma's check or money order only. Okay. Okay, Melissa at 6. Cash, check, or money order, looking into credit debit. You need to look into the credit debit thing. You'd be surprised at how many people will pay that convenience fee to have the convenience of paying by a debit or credit card. They will pay it. Can we shut them off if Il-Heat makes a partial pledge? Is that, Tina? Yes. If your policy is they have to pay it in full, then they have to pay it in full, but you need to have that in your policy, okay? If your policy is you'll accept partial payments on a payment plan, then that's your policy. But it's whatever your policy is, or your ordinance if you're a city, okay? But you don't have to accept partial payments if the board doesn't want to do that, okay? Oh, that's electric and this is water. Sorry. Okay. But a lot of places, you know, you'll have different organizations that'll help pay utility bills. But again, what does your policy say? What does your ordinance say? Okay. Yeah, Melissa, give me a call. We can talk about that. Okay. Okay, guys, we've used up our hour already so fast. This was a hot topic. Goodness. I'll stay on as long as you want to go, but I know some of you, you know, we planned for an hour, and so if you need to hop off, that's fine. But we can talk about any other topic you want. Does anybody have anything else? And if you need to jump off, go ahead and jump off, and we'll catch you next time. I'll do another one of these next month, about the same mid-month, about the same time. And we do have a Facebook page for those of you. It's MRWA Office. If you're not on there, jump on there because I post on there too about when the meetings are going to be. We are going to put them on our website now. I know Sharon, I was talking to you yesterday about putting it under the training tab on our website. We will put the next one under the training tab on our website, so you'll see it and have the link and information because I know a lot of you check that. So we'll do another one next month. Let me know either through Facebook or email me or text me what other topics you'd like to talk about in one of these meetings. You know, we'll put them up and cover them. Somebody mentioned that they would like to have a refresher on this CARES Act stuff. Because it goes until the end of the year. And when do you have to pay your employees paid sick leave and paid family leave under the CARES Act with the COVID stuff? If that's something you'd like to have a refresher on, I did that way back in April. Let me know and we can do a quick refresher on that too. But let us know, you know, what you want to do that. So Connie asked if there's a way to get a copy of the chat. I'd have to check and see if Zoom records the chat too. I'm not sure. I'll check into that though. We are recording this, so this whole thing will be recorded, but I don't know if that includes the chat. So I'll do some research on that and we'll let you know. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody else got? Kathy, I know, didn't you have a question you wanted to pose kind of on a different topic? We talked this morning.
Yeah, we can talk about it later. Some other point is fine. I was just wanting to know about e-verifying for board members and employees. Where you go to do that, is that something that you have to do other than the I-9 and that kind of thing?
I did a little bit of research on that, and from what I saw, if you're a public entity, yes, you have to register with e-verify. And I think you just go to everify.gov, Kathy. And any employees that you hire from this point forward, then you don't have to go back and do it on your existing employees. But Missouri did pass a law back in 2008 that requires that of all public. And then if you do contract with somebody that's over $5,000, they have to sign a statement that says they do e-verify. Okay, so yeah, but you go to everify.gov is what I found, but you don't have to do it on your existing employees. Okay, so just from this point forward that you verify. So everybody should be doing I-9s with all of your employees, and then this e-verify when you hire them. So for new employees, okay? That answer your question, Kathy? Okay.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Crystal, what's the e-verify? E-verify is part of the documentation to prove that the people you hire are legal workers in the United States. And Missouri passed some legislation back in 2008 that requires public entities to enroll in the E-Verify. So when you hire someone, besides their W-4 and their tax documentation, they should be signing a form called an I-9 that you keep in their employment file. And then E-Verify is where you go online and put some information in there, and it verifies that, yes, they're a legal worker in the United States. And the Missouri law says that every public entity has to do that. So that's what I could find in the short time I had to research it. And then you do that. I'm going to say no, you don't have to for board members because they're elected and they had to meet citizenship requirements and residency requirements anyway. So I'm assuming you do not have to do that. You don't keep an I-9 for them anyway. So it's for those people, employees that fill out an I-9 is what you have to do the E-Verify for. Okay. So board members are not included. All right. All right. Okay. Any other questions or topics you want to talk about while we're on overtime? No? You guys are quite a group. Okay. So Leighton, good. I'm glad it was good. And like I said, if you got any questions, let me know. I'm available anytime, as most of you know. You can call me about any time. If I don't answer, I will get back to you eventually. Okay. All right. Anybody got anything else? All right. Okay. Trisha, yes, the October conference. Yeah, me too. That's always a good time, and we just didn't feel like we could take the risk. So hopefully next year this will be all done and we can meet at the lodge next October. So yeah. All right. Okay, everybody. There's no other questions. I'm going to sign off. The recording will be available in several days. And everybody take care, stay safe, and look for next month's date and time, okay? All right. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.